Thank you and good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam Sports Report. There's a guy that tosses the ball back to Mahomes, and he does it for every quarterback, but for Patrick Mahomes, he is unique. The guy that tosses the ball back to Patrick Mahomes only has one arm. And that becomes a very unique story and a very interesting story on that. Our reporter only has one arm. Andy Reid hired him in 2020. Let's listen in to all that and more.
I promise everyone watching at home, this is something that you will never forget once you have seen it. Jeff, take it away.
Well, Greeny, as the guys next to you know, in the hours before a game when a quarterback is warming up his arm, he always has someone standing next to him to catch the footballs as they're thrown back in the direction of the quarterback. And I've covered dozens of Chiefs games, and I've always been curious about the guy who does this for Patrick Mahomes. And that's because he's missing his right arm. So I decided to look a little further. And what I learned is that this is a story of perseverance and grit. In this week's Sunday Spotlight, the story of Porter Ellett. During warm-ups before each Chiefs game, the focus is often on Patrick Mahomes. But standing beside him is someone who inspires in his own way.
He just came and started doing it. It wasn't like I asked him to do it. He just saw that I was catching the football and he took it upon himself. He was like, hey, I'll come catch if you want me to.
Before every game since 2020, Chiefs assistant coach Porter Ellett and Mahomes have followed this same routine.
Being a part of that world, of his competitive world, is really special. Of all the people to catch, it's like, yeah, let's have the one-arm kid catch. Grew up on a farm, central Utah. In the summer, we would go out and check on our sheep and cows and kind of like move them wherever they needed to be moved.
What do you remember about that day?
Typical early morning, go, just take a drive.
My dad had a motorcycle and he would always haul it in the back of the truck. So I was 4 and I begged him, hey, can I ride in the back?
We were headed up the mountain. The road was really rough.
I was sitting on the motorcycle and I went to get off. And as I was getting off, we hit a bump and I fell out of the back of the truck.
He hit his head on a rock. It tore all the nerves out of his right shoulder, and he had a brain bleed.
They had to life flight me to Salt Lake. And I was really close to cutting one of the main arteries in my head and bleeding out. But then they did all this testing on my arm and realized I couldn't move it anymore.
I thought, well, why did I let him ride in the back of the truck? All these scenarios, I was thinking I could have avoided that if I'd have just made different decisions.
With his arm no longer functional due to the nerve damage from the accident, Porter's pursuit of a normal childhood proved challenging. Where were you in your mindset at that point?
If I didn't amputate it, I thought that it would cause me to not progress. So I was like, all right, let's get rid of this.
When Porter was 16, doctors amputated his right arm.
I came to the decision that, well, if they're gonna stare, they're gonna point, let's give them a show.
Even with one arm, Porter became an all-state selection in both baseball and basketball as a high schooler.
I used to love the first quarter of basketball games when I hadn't played people, because I don't guard you for a quarter. You put up 12 points and then, all right.
Porter Ellett, three-point shots on its way. Good.
He was relentless, like shooting a basketball. A lot of kids would spend half an hour a day. Porter would spend 4.
That's why I love sports, is because they saved me, really.
After high school, Porter enrolled at Brigham Young University, where he got a job doing laundry for the football team. and fell in love with his future wife, Carly. The Elletts settled in Salt Lake City, where Porter took a job at Goldman Sachs.
He was at Goldman's for about a year when I realized that this is something I don't know that he can stick out and feel fulfilled in his career. So we were sitting down for dinner one night and I just asked him, like, what is it that you think about when you have nothing else you need to think about? And it was sports.
How did you meet Porter?
I met him actually through my son-in-law. And my son-in-law goes, man, this guy would be a great coach. He came out and visited one of the games. So I said, bring him over to the house after the game. So he came over and we talked. And I said, all right, if I have an opening, I'll sneak you in here.
He explains to me when I have a job opening, it's to be my assistant. You'll basically be my right-hand man. You'll go like everywhere I go. I cracked the joke after he said right-hand man. I was like, well, are you okay with your right-hand man not having a right hand? And he's like laughing on the other side. He's like, you'll be my left-hand man.
He started from scratch. He started reading books. He'd quiz all the coaches.
He'd get home at midnight, he'd bring me a stack of flashcards, wake me up, and we would go through the stack of flashcards because he wanted to learn the offense.
Nice catch on that. Good route.
Since he was hired in 2017, Porter has progressed from Reed's personal assistant to assistant running backs coach and has been on staff for the Chiefs' last 3 Super Bowl victories.
He already is a great coach, but he's going to be a great coach in this league for a long time. He helps me out a ton every single day.
This kid from this middle of nowhere farm town in Loa, Utah, who suffered a horrible farming accident, only has one arm, is now next to arguably one of the greatest coaches in NFL history.
What makes you most proud of where you are now?
I don't know if I'm really like proud of myself, but I'm proud that I proved everybody who like bet on me right. Coach Reed doesn't have to answer questions about like, why would you ever hire a one-armed kid? Like, he never has to answer that question. That's what I'm proud of.
I had a friend like this back in high school. I want to have him back on my show to see what kind of updates he's got and see what kind of cool things he has to use with his arm. He always uses something cool to like pick up stuff or something like that. He used to play sports with me back in the day, and the flip of the glove or the throw of the glove or the whatever it was pretty amazing. He could do anything almost another guy could do hitting the ball. He could hit the ball with one arm. The one-arm baseball player or the one-arm baseball player really will have a talk with, and he'll join us soon. The KU score last night, the score open, they never really did dominate, but they did beat them pretty good. Final score last night of KU and UMC Wilmington, 84-66. DeJuan Harrison finishes with 17. Clear McKiff finishes with 18 on UNCW, and the loss, UNCW is 3-1. The Kansas State Hawks are 5-0. And in Big 12 basketball last night, Kansas State comes out on Mrs. Valley State, 74-56, 18 points. And Arthur Twait, Ghana Onoea led K-State with 16 as well in the win. Kansas State had a very poor first half. This was a rather closer game. Missouri and MVSU and Texas and MVSU were much further blowouts. MSU drops to 1-4. Kansas State is 3-1. Kansas State plays George Washington on Friday at 7. And KU doesn't play until next Tuesday against Duke. That's Sam Vaughn Sports.